build our cooperation
Я
in the
предлагаю
future.
начать вот
So I
для составить
suggest
делегации.
starting.
Watch this space. More news coming up. Mysterious bomb shakes Israeli security establishment. The explosive device that was planted on the side of the Route 65 highway in Megiddo has been described as very sophisticated in nature and doesn't resemble those used by Palestinians in the occupied West Bank. A mysterious roadside bomb at the Megiddo Junction in northern Israel on 13 March preoccupied the Israeli security establishment, which has placed the incident under heavy gag orders and refused to publish specific details on the subject due to its sensitive nature. According to the Times of Israel, police and medics reported that the explosion took place around 6 a.m. on the Route 65 highway at the Megiddo Junction near the Megiddo prison, leaving a young man badly injured after the bomb exploded near his car. The victim, 21-year-old Sharif al-Din from the northern Arab village of Salem, is being treated at Rambam Hospital in Haifa and said to be in serious condition after suffering from shrapnel to his entire body, including his head, according to medical officials. Official Israeli sources have said that the victim may not have been the intended target, as the roadside bomb repeatedly planned to target passing soldiers and settlers. The bomb was apparently planted on the side of the highway, which remained closed for nearly 10 hours after the incident. Following the incident, Zionist Defense Minister Yoav Gallant held a series of security meetings that lasted over 24 hours. Additionally, Yedioth Ahronoth reported that the incident is being investigated by the Shin Bet security agency. Israel Con 11 channel reported that most of the details of the case are forbidden to be published according to censorship instructions. The security system is very concerned about the details of the case. This news comes following a series of security incidents over the past week, including multiple explosives found on settler buses in the West Bank settlement of Beitar Illit on 9 March. The same day, 3 resistance leaders were gunned down by Israeli border police in Jenin, and an explosive charge was also found in their car. Back in November of last year, Palestinian resistance carried out twin bombing attacks in Jerusalem that was described by the Shin Bet as complex. The IEDs were placed on the roadside and attempted to target fully occupied buses using a remote detonation mechanism. However, the Megiddo incident in particular has been under heavy censorship by the Israel Army, described as a commando operation that's completely unusual in the security establishment, according to Yisrael Hayom. It's still unknown who planned the attack, which involved an elaborate and compact device that doesn't resemble those often used in the occupied West Bank. Hebrew sources compared the explosive device to past roadside bombs used by the Lebanese resistance group Hezbollah against the Israeli army in South Lebanon. Israeli military strategist and former chief of staff, the army Gadi Eisenkot, told Knesset members on 14 March that the Israeli army is at crossroads and we're currently going through one of the most serious security periods since the Yom Kippur War. Expert on Israeli affairs Dr. Adnan Abu Amir said that it's clear that we're facing a dangerous and unusual series of explosive device detonations, which raises questions about who planned it, how it reached the sensitive area, and will the coming days carry other devices. Recent months have witnessed an increase in the use of explosive devices by Palestinians as opposed to shooting operation in what's being described by many as beginnings of the Third Intifada. As a result, the security establishment fears advancement in bomb making by the Palestinian resistance in the occupied West Bank. Such bombing operations are reminiscent of those carried out during the Second Intifada, which saw several large-scale attacks such as the Megiddo Junction bus bombing of 2002 by Palestinian Islamic Jihad. In a 14 March feature by Haaretz, Amos Harel writes, the Shin Bet and IDF have been concerned for several months about increased attempts by Palestinians to prepare explosive charges. Israeli officials have said that publishing the details of the Megiddo bomb will undermine the public's sense of security at a time when the security establishment is trying to avoid confrontation. And from Al Mayadeen, Israel investigating Hezbollah role in northern Palestine IED. The Israel official security statement said that at the beginning of the week, an explosive device was detonated near the Megiddo Junction on Route 65, seriously injuring an Israeli settler. The Israeli occupation forces expressed their suspicion that the Lebanese resistance movement Hezbollah was behind an alleged security incident in northern occupied Palestine earlier this week, in which it infiltrated through the northern borders and detonated an explosive device, according to Israeli media. The IOF spokesperson, the Shin Bet, an Israeli security agency spokesperson, said, the Israeli police spokesperson? The Israeli police spokesperson and the issued a joint statement claiming that security forces neutralized the perpetrator of the operation. According to the statement, an explosive device was detonated near the Megiddo intersection on Route 65, seriously injuring an Israeli settler, and the security forces worked to locate the suspects behind the operation.
The Shin Bet
The joint Israel security statement claimed that initial investigation shows that the person behind the operation apparently closed Lebanese territory in occupied Palestine earlier this week, or crossed Lebanese territory into occupied Palestine earlier this week. It added that it turned out that after the attack near the Megiddo intersection, the perpetrator stopped a car, asked the driver to drive north, stressing that the attacks are subject to an investigation in which Hezbollah's responsibility is also being investigated. The Israeli military had reported on Wednesday about what it described as a dangerous security incident in northern occupied Palestine and indicated that the security issue was caused by a side bomb that was detonated on Route 65 at the Megiddo Junction. Israeli media correspondents reported that since Tuesday, the date of the incident in the north towns and roads are closed and soldiers roam between houses at evening hours. On the other hand, Israeli media reported earlier that Netanyahu postponed his visit to Berlin and Smotrich cut short his tour, referring to security talks at the highest level in Israel amid suspicions of a difficult security operation. The correspondent of the Israeli Khan channel confirmed that the Shin Bet is still imposing a ban on publishing more details. He said that officials are talking about the unknown identity of the perpetrator, and investigations are looking to assess Lebanese Hezbollah's involvement, pointing out that suspicions also revolve around the possibility of the involvement of Hamas and its front in Lebanon, which is led by Saleh al-Aruri. The Yedioth Ahronoth newspaper also published that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Security Minister Yoav Gallant instructed Israeli officials not to make any statement about the Megiddo operation. And from Al-Mayadeen, Megiddo incident exposes dissolution of Israeli unity in Israeli press, or the Israeli press says. The Israeli occupation president Isaac Herzog warns of civil war in Israel. The Israeli occupation president Isaac Herzog confirmed during a speech on Wednesday that the Megiddo incident expresses the enemy's accurate diagnosis regarding the disintegration of the Israeli unity. In his speech to the Israelis, Herzog said that the grave incidents clear evidence that our enemies are well aware of the disintegration of Israeli unity and are acting accordingly. He added that those who think that a real civil war is not imminent have no idea about what's happening with Israel. He also cautioned that civil war is a red line which I will not allow Israel to reach. Herzog considered that Israel is at a crossroads, either a historic crisis or a decisive constitutional moment will emerge. Meanwhile, the head of the Israeli opposition, Yair Lapid, stressed the importance of waiting for the results of the investigation into the Megiddo operation, considering that if Hezbollah is responsible, then Israel is obliged to respond. However, the response would be carried out at the brink of war. He claimed that officials didn't respond immediately because Israel responds after validating the event itself. However, Lapid underlined, but if we believe that Hezbollah carried out the operation, yet we opted not to respond, then we'll have seriously damaged our deterrence. I mean, also, and there should be more of a penalty for wrongly implicating groups such as Hezbollah. You see, that's the other side of it. Okay, so you opt not to respond, and you'll have seriously damaged your deterrence, right? But you respond wrongly, and you'll have created a false enemy. Sure, but there's no question that Hezbollah is opposed to Israel. But was it Hezbollah that did it, or is this just propaganda? And is there focus on, an individual when an attempt to focus on a group is occurring? It's just a lack of focus there. Earlier today, the Israeli occupation forces revealed that it suspected that Hezbollah was behind the security incident at the beginning of this week in northern occupied Palestine, during which it's alleged that someone infiltrated the northern borders and detonated an explosive device. And let's be clear, there is no evidence that is everyone from Lebanon in Hezbollah? If everyone from Lebanon is in Hezbollah, then yes, it's true. That person was from Hezbollah. Also, they say the complexity of the bomb lends itself to the idea that it could have been Hezbollah. But then earlier in this article, there's also a few statements about non-Hezbollah bombs being complex that were detonated in Palestine. So it's just a lack of consistency, and also a blame game. Like, it would be more comfortable for Israel to focus on Lebanon at this point. To focus on Hezbollah at this point, as opposed to focusing on Lebanon or focusing on nothing at all. A joint statement was issued by the spokesperson of the Israeli army, the Shin Bet, and the Israeli police, saying that the security forces neutralized the perpetrator of the operation near the Megiddo Junction in northern occupied Palestine. The statement said that at the beginning of the week, an explosive device was detonated near the Megiddo intersection on Route 65, which seriously injured an Israeli settler, and the security forces worked to locate the suspects in placing the explosive device. And we'll return with more news.